efforts to indict President Trump and stop the voters from re-electing him have failed. They're going and seeking out individual radical judges to try to shut down policies, and they are forum shopping like crazy. Give me any loon judge put on the bench by Obama or Biden who disagrees with a policy. We just saw a judge flagrantly ignore U.S. immigration law concerning TPS being revoked. U.S. law explicitly said there's no judicial review for that, but hey, they found a judge who says,
summary by the president either, right?
Absolutely.
So a summary by the president or his desire to investigate Jack Smith would not be enough for you to open an investigation of Jack Smith. Is that right?
I will look at the facts and evidence in any case. You know,
and sitting here today,
Senator, 72% of Americans
please, I only have 7
lost
minutes.
faith in the Department of Justice.
Sitting here today, are you aware of any factual predicate to investigate Jack Smith? Sitting here today.
Ted Cruz and Pam Bondi teamed up to humiliate Adam Schiff in Congress, exposing his lies and leaving him cornered with no defense. Cruz laid out Schiff's record of dishonesty with precision, while Bondi delivered relentless questions that Schiff couldn't escape. This fiery tag team takedown revealed Schiff's years of deception and reminded Americans that truth still matters in Washington.
From 2001 to 2024 against Biden, Obama, and Bush, 32. And how many nationwide injunctions have been issued in the last 2 months alone?
There have been quite a few.
37. Let that sink in. There have been more nationwide injunctions in the past 2 months against President Trump than in the entire 20th century. There have been more nationwide injunctions against President Trump in the last 2 months than both terms of George W. Bush, both terms of Barack Obama, and Joe Biden's term. We saw during the Biden presidency lawfare, indicting President Trump 4 times, using the machinery of justice to attack him, and that was an attack on democracy, because Democrats today hate democracy. Democrats today are angry at the voters for re-electing Donald Trump and electing a Republican Senate and a Republican House, and they engaged in lawfare to stop democracy from operating. Understand, this is the second phase of lawfare. Second chart. This is the second phase of lawfare. Now that their efforts to indict President Trump and stop the voters from re-electing him have failed, they're going and seeking out individual radical judges to try to shut down policies, and they are forum shopping like crazy. Give me any loon judge put on the bench by Obama or Biden who disagrees with a policy. We just saw a judge flagrantly ignore U.S. immigration law concerning TPS being revoked. U.S. law explicitly said there's no judicial review for that, but hey, they found a judge who says, you know what? We, the Democrat Party, we are the party of illegal aliens. We are the party of murderers and rapists and gang members, and the Democrat Party exists here to fight to keep murderers and rapists and gang members in your communities. There's a reason the Democrat Party is at 26% approval nationwide, because they put radical policies ahead of rule of law. Nationwide injunctions are an abuse of power. It is the judiciary acting as policy deciders, and it is incumbent on this committee and this body to rein in the abuse of power from these unelected radical judges who are trying to overturn the election because they disagree with what the voters decided.
Thank you, Senator Cruz. Senator
When
Klobuchar.
the Justice Department dismissed a corruption case against the mayor of New York City, not because of a lack of evidence, not because of any misconduct by the prosecutors in the case, but because of the most serious misconduct of the Attorney General and the top leadership of the Justice Department. Because the Justice Department wanted to leverage that case against the mayor by dismissing the case without prejudice so that they could use him as a political pawn to help effectuate their immigration policy. That just happened today. It is one of any number of serious abuses of the rule of law by this Justice Department. And instead of having a single hearing on what the department is doing, or a single hearing on all the other plainly unlawful acts of this administration, no, instead of having...
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Bondi, as you know, the Supreme Court in Trump versus United States held the president has absolute immunity to commit crimes in certain core areas of the president's responsibility. One of those core areas is the Justice Department. So in a breathtakingly dangerous and irresponsible decision, Justice Roberts and the majority held the president can commit crimes using the Department of Justice and be immune from prosecution. Justice Sotomayor correctly said this new immunity lies about like a loaded weapon. So the fear and the concern we have is that the incoming president will use that loaded weapon, that immunity, to commit crimes through the Department of Justice. And for that reason, it is all the more important that we have an attorney general who has the independence, the strength, the intestinal fortitude to say no to the president when it is necessary. So my first set of questions has to do whether you have the independence to say no when you must say no. And you can say this is hypothetical, but it is not hypothetical. So let me start with one very specific non-hypothetical. The president has said Jack Smith should go to jail. Will you investigate Jack Smith?
Senator, I haven't seen the file. I haven't seen the investigation. I haven't looked at anything. It would be irresponsible of me to make a commitment regarding anything without, you're a long practicing attorney, without looking at a file.
So you would need a factual predicate to open an investigation of Jack Smith, is that right?
Not a summary by you sitting here. Yes, sir.
And not a summary by the president either, right?
Absolutely.
So a summary by the president or his desire to investigate Jack Smith would not be enough for you to open an investigation of Jack Smith, is that right?
I will look at the facts and evidence in any case. You know,
and sitting here, today,
Senator, 72% of Americans
I only have
have
7
lost
minutes.
faith in the Department of Justice.
Sitting here today, are you aware of any factual predicate to investigate Jack Smith? Sitting here today, yes or no?
Senator, I will look at the facts and the circumstances.
You can't answer that question. You're not a part of the department yet. There's no worry about divulging law enforcement sensitive information. So just tell us, are you aware of a factual predicate to investigate Jack Smith? Yes or no?
Senator, what I'm hearing on the news is
horrible. Are you aware of a...
Do I know if he committed a crime? I have not looked at it.
You seem reluctant to answer a simple question. Let me ask you a different simple question. The president also wants to jail Liz Cheney. Sitting here today, are you aware of any factual basis to investigate Liz Cheney? Yes or no?
Senator, that's a hypothetical, and I'm not going to answer that question.
No, it's not hypothetical. I'm asking you, sitting here today, whether you are aware of a factual predicate to investigate Liz Cheney.
Senator, no one has asked me to investigate Liz Cheney. That is a hypothetical.
The president has called for it publicly. You are aware of that, aren't you?
No one has asked me to investigate.
But the president
Liz. We're also worried about Liz Cheney, Senator.
The president has called for this.
You know what we should be worried about?
Ms. Bondi, please answer my questions.
The crime rate in California right now is through the roof.
Ms. Bondi,
your robberies are 87% higher than the national average.
My question is this.
That's what I want to be focused on, Senator.
Do you have the power to say no to the president? And what you're suggesting today by your non-answer is you don't have the independence to say no to the president. So let me ask you a different question. It also requires you, if you're going to be a good attorney general, to be able to tell hard truths to the president. So my questions now are, can you tell hard truths to the president? So let me start with an easy truth that you could speak to the president. Can you tell us, can you tell him that Donald Trump lost the 2020 election? Can you say that? Do you have the independence to say that? Do you have the gravitas, the stature, the intestinal fortitude to say, Donald Trump, you lost the 2020 election? Can you tell us that here today?
Senator, what I can tell you is I will never play politics. You're trying to engage me in a gotcha. I
No,
won't
I'm just
do it.
asking you a simple
I
question.
won't play
If you can
politics
speak truth
with any
to
ongoing
power. So let me ask you another.
like you did
let me-
leaking your
let me ask
colleague
you,
Devin Nunes's memo.
If you can't answer the question, let me ask you a different, what should be a simple truth, not a hard one. Was there massive...
Ted Cruz and Pam Bondi have just delivered one of the most devastating congressional takedowns we've seen in years, and the target was none other than Adam Schiff. What unfolded inside that chamber was not just a heated debate. It was a complete humiliation for Schiff, a man who has built his political career on deception, manipulation, and outright lies. And this time, he couldn't escape the truth. From the start, Ted Cruz made it crystal clear that he was not there to play games. With his trademark sharpness, Cruz began laying out Schiff's record in black and white. He reminded everyone of Schiff's endless promises to the American people, promises of evidence, proof, and damning information that never existed. Cruz brought up Schiff's years of running the so-called Russia investigation, claiming he had proof of collusion that never surfaced. He reminded Congress how Schiff repeatedly went on national television, assuring Americans that he had seen the evidence himself. But when push came to shove, when it was time to produce that evidence, Schiff had nothing. Absolutely nothing. The brilliance of Cruz's approach was in the details. He didn't just throw accusations. He quoted Schiff's own words, playing back the exact statements Schiff made when the cameras were rolling. Then, like a skilled prosecutor, Cruz compared those statements to the facts revealed later, exposing contradiction after contradiction. By the time Cruz was done with his opening, you could see Schiff already looking uncomfortable, shifting in his seat, trying to hold onto the facade. And then came Pam Bondi. If Cruz was the hammer, Bondi was the finishing blow. With her sharp prosecutorial background, Bondi went in for the kill. She asked Schiff the kind of direct, no-nonsense questions that corner even the slickest politicians. She pressed him. Where was the evidence he had promised for years? Why had he misled the American people time and time again? Why had he used his position of authority not to serve truth, but to advance a political agenda? Schiff had no real answers. He dodged, he stumbled, and he attempted to change the subject. But Bondi wasn't having it. Bondi reminded Schiff and everyone watching of the cost of his lies. She pointed to the years of division his false narratives caused, the taxpayer dollars wasted on sham investigations, and the trust in government that was shattered because of his actions. And she didn't stop there. Bondi dug deeper into his record, exposing his role in selectively leaking information to the press, twisting facts to create headlines that fueled the narrative he wanted. Schiff's usual smug confidence was nowhere to be found. Instead, he looked cornered, embarrassed, and humiliated. Together, Cruz and Bondi worked like a perfectly coordinated team. Cruz set the stage with the facts, the evidence, and the clear contradictions. Bondi closed in with relentless questioning, stripping away the last layers of Schiff's defense. What we witnessed was the dismantling of a political figure who has thrived for too long on lies without accountability. And let's be clear, this wasn't just about Schiff. This was about exposing the larger pattern of dishonesty that has infected Washington. Schiff has been the face of it for years.